Billionaire fires 5 maids until one puts a wig on his daughter with cancer, and this happens. In Ottavio Bastos's mansion, a maid's longevity was measured in hours, not months. The dismissed farm worker left in tears that morning, a young woman barely 20 years old. The task was always the same, described with brutal simplicity by the head housekeeper, Donna Elvira, to make little 8-year-old Sophia wear one of the wigs. And failure, inevitable and swift, was always the result. My name is Clara, I'm 50 years old, and I was the 6th candidate for that invisible guillotine. When I was hired, I felt Donna Elvira's pitying look. The boss is at his limit, Clara. The girl, she has cancer, and she refuses to wear the wigs. Her cousin's wedding is on Saturday, and he wants his daughter to look normal. It's his only job. If he fails, you know. I nodded. I knew. But what they didn't know was that this task, for me, wasn't just a job. It was a calling. I knew the silence that follows hair loss. I knew the cold touch of a suddenly bare head, the strangeness of my own reflection in the mirror. I knew the pain that comes not from the illness, but from the loss of identity. I knew it because I lived every second beside my mother, Isaura, during her long and courageous battle against the same illness. My mother was a vibrant woman, proud of her silver hair, which she wore in an elegant bun. When chemotherapy took it, it was as if her crown had been stolen. I remember the day her first wig arrived, an expensive, perfect-looking piece we'd painstakingly purchased. She put it on, looked in the mirror, and cried. "It's not me, my daughter. It's a mask." That day, I understood that a wig wasn't just hair. It was dignity, and for it to become a symbol of strength, not illness, the ritual of putting it on needed to be transformed. I learned to wash, comb, and style those pieces with a care that bordered on devotion. I transformed her room into a small beauty salon. I played music, made tea. I didn't say, "It's time to put on the wig." I said, "Which queen do you want to be today, Mommy? The one with short, bold hair or the one with elegant curls?" My mother passed away 2 years ago, but the lesson she taught me about the beauty of resilience remained. And it was with this baggage that I now entered the gilded cage of Ottavio Bastos, a man whose fortune could buy the best treatments in the world, but not the joy of his only daughter. The first time I saw Sophia, she was curled up in an armchair in her gigantic room, which looked more like a luxury toy store. She was small for her age, with large, sad eyes that seemed to carry the weight of the world. And around her, like silent vultures, were the boxes. Open velvet boxes displaying wigs of every type and color, straight blonde hair, brown curls, red strands, pieces handmade in Paris with the highest quality human hair, each costing more than I earned in a year. They were all technically perfect and all terribly lifeless. I was sent to tidy the room. Sophia didn't look at me. He continued drawing in a sketchbook. I approached silently. Instead of looking at the wigs, I looked at her drawing. It was a floating castle with towers rising into the clouds. "What a beautiful castle," I said, my voice low. "Who lives there?" She looked at me for the first time, surprised. The other 5 probably got straight to the point, to the task, to the mission. "The Moon Princess," she whispered, as if sharing a secret. "She has no hair. Her hair is made of starlight." My heart skipped a beat. There was the key. The girl hadn't lost her imagination. She had lost the connection between her imagination and her reality. "That must be beautiful hair to comb," I said, smiling, and I changed the subject. I talked about the clouds, about the colors she'd used. That first day, I hadn't said the word wig. I was there to clean the room, and that's what I did. But as I cleaned, I saw. I saw the girl behind the illness. He saw a task. I saw a coronation. In the days that followed, I built a fragile bridge to it. Ottavio Bastos, a man with an intimidating presence and non-existent patience, watched me from afar with his hawk-like eyes. I felt the pressure of the clock, Saturday approaching like a chariot on fire. "Still haven't gotten it?" he growled at me on Wednesday. "What I pay you isn't for making friends, it's for fulfilling an order." "A child is not a soldier, Mr. Ottavio," I replied with a calmness that disarmed him. "She doesn't need an order. She needs a reason." I spent more time in Sophia's room. I helped her organize her crayons. I told her stories. And I started talking about my mother. Not her illness, but her magic. "My mother was a queen," I told Sophia as she drew, "and she had a chest of magical crowns. Each one gave her a different power. There was the crown of threads of sunshine, which gave her the power to laugh all day, and the crown of dark night, which gave her the power to have the sweetest dreams." Sophia listened, her eyes wide and attentive. She understood the metaphor. The billionaire had bought the most expensive wigs in the world, but he didn't know that the wig is just the accessory. The magic is in the hands of the wearer. On Friday, the day before the wedding, the tension in the house was palpable. Ottavio gave me an ultimatum. "Tomorrow, no excuses, or you'll be out on the street before lunch." I simply nodded. On Saturday morning, I didn't enter Sophia's room with the tone of someone coming to fulfill an obligation. I entered with a cardboard box I'd decorated with silver stars and moons. Inside was not only the wig Ottavio had chosen, a long brown one. I'd added small star clips, blue satin ribbons, and a bottle of child-safe glitter spray. I placed the box on the floor, between us. "Sophia," I said, sitting beside her, "today we have a very important mission. The Moon Princess has been invited to the grand ball at the Castle of the Sun, and she needs a disguise so the guardians of the day won't recognize her nocturnal brilliance. We need to create her Earth Princess hair." Her eyes lit up. For the first time, Sophia didn't need a wig, she needed permission to dream again. I opened the box. "This," I said, carefully lifting the wig, "isn't a wig. It's an enchanted invisibility helmet made from silk threads woven by fairies. But it only works if activated with stardust." We began the game. She was hesitant at first. I was patient. I let her touch the soft strands. I let her sprinkle the glitter, which she called stardust, on her own. We laughed together when some of the glitter landed on my nose. The bedroom, once a place of tears and frustration, had become a fairy tale dressing room. "Now," I said, my voice a knowing whisper, "the coronation. Are you ready, Princess?" She closed her eyes and nodded. It was at that exact moment that the door burst open. Ottavio Bastos entered, his face a storm cloud, ready to unleash the lightning bolts of his fury. "I don't hear crying, so I assume you didn't even try. I knew it. You're just like—" He stopped. The sentence died in his throat. The scene he saw wasn't what he expected. There wasn't a clumsy maid forcing a wig on a crying child. What he saw was his daughter, sitting on the floor, eyes closed and smiling serenely, while I, with the delicacy of an angel, adjusted the magic crown on her head. I didn't just put on the wig. I set it down reverently. I pinned a side strand with a star clip. I brushed the strands away from her face. It was a ritual, a coronation. I picked up a hand mirror I'd brought with me, an antique mirror with a silver frame that had belonged to my mother. "You may open your eyes, Your Majesty." Sophia opened her eyes and looked at her reflection. And what happened next was a true miracle. She didn't see a sickly girl wearing a wig. She saw the Earth Princess with fairy hair and stardust. She saw a character. She saw power. She saw beauty. And she smiled. It wasn't a small, shy smile. It was a wide, luminous smile that lit up the entire room, that seemed to fill every crack in that sad house. She ran her fingers through her long hair in wonder. "It worked, Clara," she whispered. "I'm a different person." Ottavio remained standing in the doorway, a marble statue. His armor of rage and power had disintegrated. What remained was only a father, witnessing a glimpse of the happy daughter he thought he'd lost forever. And then I saw him. A single solitary tear traced a path down his stern face. Then another, and another. The billionaire, the man who moved markets with a phone call, was weeping silently at his daughter's bedroom door. That sound, the sound of a father crying and finding hope again, was more powerful than any scream of rage he had ever uttered. The resolution began in that instant. He entered the room, his steps slow and hesitant. He knelt in front of Sophia, his designer suit wrinkling on the plush carpet. He didn't look at the wig, he looked at her smile. "You look the most beautiful of all the princesses," he said, his voice breaking. That night, Sophia didn't just attend the wedding. She danced. She laughed, she shone, and no one saw a girl with cancer. Everyone saw a princess. On Monday, I expected to be called to receive my pay and my resignation. Instead, I was called to Ottavio's office. He didn't sit behind his imposing desk. He sat in the chair across from me. "I don't know how you did that, Clara," he said, his voice low. "The wigs are the same. The nannies, the psychologists, me. We all tried. And we all failed. What did you do differently?" I looked at my hands, which had once cared for a queen and now cared for a princess. "You and the others tried to cover up her illness," I replied. "I just helped unleash her imagination. You bought hair. I offered her a story. It was Sophia who worked the magic, not me. She just needed someone to believe in her magic." Ottavio was silent for a long time. Then he made me the offer. Not a raise, not a bonus. He asked me to stay, not as a maid, but as Sophia's companion, as her story keeper, he said. The salary he offered was more than I could have dreamed of, but the real reward was the look of gratitude in that man who for the first time seemed human. Today, months later, life in the mansion is different. Sophia's health has its ups and downs, but her spirit has never wavered. Her sketchbook is now filled with characters: the dark-haired spy, the aviator with short red hair, the mermaid with blonde braids. Wigs have become her costume chest. Sometimes she wears them, sometimes she proudly parades around with her bald head, which she calls her superhero helmet. The choice is always hers, and it's always a game. Ottavio learned to play too. I teach him to make up stories. I discovered that behind the ruthless billionaire, there was a dormant storyteller. I came to this house looking for a job, but I found a mission. The pain of my mother's loss became a gift. The knowledge I gained in her bed of suffering became the tool to bring joy to a child. The billionaire thought he needed an employee who would obey an impossible order. In the end, he discovered that what his family really needed wasn't obedience, but compassion. Not a maid, but someone who knew that, to heal certain wounds, the best medicine is, and always will be, imagination. Did you enjoy this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below and tell us which city you're listening from. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel so we can build a community that shares inspiring stories together. Thank you so much for watching.